Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first AI-generated episode of the Minnesota PBIS Playback podcast, where the voices are digital, but the insights and examples are 100% real. Today's playback features our September 9th virtual PD session, setting up a successful school year with PBIS fidelity measures. I'm Erin Engness, Minnesota PBIS coordinator for the Northern region, joined by my colleague and friend, Debi Doran. Debi, how's it going in the Metro?
Hi, Erin. It's a busy and great start to the school year. Hello, everyone. Debi here, PBIS Coaching and Evaluation Coordinator for the Metro. Today, we're really peeling back the layers of those essential PBIS tools, the tiered Fidelity Inventory, the Walkthrough, and the SAS. But let's zoom out for a second. Erin, why are we doing all this?
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, PBIS gives us that framework, a supportive structure so our schools are safer and way more equitable. It's like we're not just throwing out random ideas or solutions based on feelings, right? It's about building systems so everyone's rowing in the same direction. And fidelity tools, well, they make sure the boat isn't going in circles or drifting off. The TFI, for example, helps you see which core tier one features are in place, and it's a team effort. No more guessing, just looking at where your foundations are strong. And let's be honest with PBIS, sometimes figuring out what needs a little reinforcement.
You know, Erin, the researchers and authors at the PBIS National Center, along with the PBIS Apps team, keep revising and improving evidence-based evaluation tools. And before the TFI, does anyone remember the SET or the TIC? The school-wide evaluation tool and the team implementation checklist. Those were my first PBIS experiences. And let me tell you, you'd go interview people, fill out 10 different forms, and hope you got the picture. The TFI has compacted that info and changed all that. Now, everything is revised, streamlined, and relevant for the reality of our schools today. Now, our teams look at the core features across all tiers, and we can really focus on the connection to the info from the self-assessment, especially on tier one. That was a lifesaver for me as a new coach. Instead of juggling, we could actually talk as a team about what was working and what was, well, maybe not working so much.
And with the TFI, the whole team's involved. I always tell teams, try to be in the room together so you can read each question, hear different perspectives, and really vote on those scores because, I mean, honestly, someone's bound to see a gap you've missed. It's not about pointing fingers, but, more about honest reflection. We look at features like your team composition, how you're teaching expectations, whether acknowledgements are happening, all that. It's even laid out in the TFI manual what each feature is, what data sources to use, and what gets you a 0, 1, or 2.
Absolutely. And for any overachievers listening, you can take the TFI up to 4 times a year, though at a minimum, most teams do the Tier 1 section once a year. And that 70% mark, that's your aim for when you should start seeing a positive impact on outcomes. It's also the mark for reaching exemplar status in Minnesota. Timing-wise, just pick what fits your building best, but the big takeaway is making it a calendar habit. Do it, use the data, make a plan, and don't worry about doing it wrong. The important part is that your whole team gets real about what's going on in your building. Where was I going with that? Oh, right, action planning. That's when the magic really starts, but you can't plan if you have no idea where your strengths and needs really are. Now, Erin, you brought up one of my favorite topics, the TFI Walkthrough. This tool honestly makes the TFI so much more real. Paper surveys are great, but that spot check with actual staff and students, that's where you see what's landing and what's flying right over everyone's heads. I always tell teams it might feel awkward at first, but students and staff genuinely appreciate being asked for their perspective. And it's fast. Don't turn it into an all-day thing.
Totally. The walkthrough is basically a set of quick interviews, little snapshots of how staff and students perceive your PBIS implementation. I usually recommend doing it before the TFI, especially since 3 questions in the TFI are directly linked to what you find here. So you set aside a part of a day, grab your clipboard, or hey, there's a fancy Google form now, and you just ask those core questions. For staff, it's usually, what are your school rules? Have you taught the behavioral expectations this year? Have you given out acknowledgements recently?
And for students, it's simple too. What are the expectations at your school? And have you gotten an acknowledgement like a pride ticket or token since school started? I get such great answers doing these. And sometimes I feel like I learn more in 15 minutes walking the hallways than I would from hours in meetings. What's crucial is the variety. Ask different staff, not just classroom teachers. Get the playground folks, the cafeteria crew, all of them. Same for students, different ages, groups, you name it. That's how you spot gaps.
Yeah, I've seen this play out in rural schools too. One place, the team did spot interviews with the paraprofessionals and regular parent volunteers, folks who sometimes aren't a part of those regular PD sessions. Turns out those staff members didn't feel as confident with knowing the school's expectations. That was an eye-opener, and the team realized they had to spend more effort teaching those PBIS routines to non-classroom staff. It's honestly never about gotchas. Señor, sometimes kids just glance at a poster and say, like, I think one of the words is respect or responsibility. That's valuable data. If people can't name the expectations, maybe we need more teaching or a clearer posters.
And just to add, these aren't high pressure questions. It's fine if someone blanks, you just jot it down and move on. It's about spotting patterns, not perfection. Also, it's a spot check. If you're thinking, should I interview 200 kids? No, please don't. A handful across grade levels is enough to see if your PBIS work is being felt and understood at your site. And whether you use paper, a Google form, or whatever, just keep those results for team reflection later.
And lastly, for logistics, it can be an internal or external person doing the walkthrough. Sometimes teams swap with another school, so it's a fresh set of eyes. No matter how you do it, the walkthrough is a reality check. And honestly, it helps anchor your TFI decisions. Instead of, I think 90% of staff are handing out acknowledgments. No more guessing games. That alone makes it worth the time. All right, let's jump into the SAS, the Self-Assessment Survey, now officially at version 4.0. This tool got a major facelift the summer of 2023. And Debi, I'm really loving the new layout and how they've broken down the classroom questions, which is not only for classroom teachers, it's asking for feedback from any adults who visit classrooms regularly. But at its core, the SAS is all about gathering staff perceptions, seeing how adults in the building view your PBIS implementation across Tier 1, Classroom Tier 2, and Tier 3 systems.
Oh, me too. I really appreciate the new SAS 4.0. It's mapped almost exactly to the TFI, which is brilliant. That crosswalk means if your team thinks something's in place on the TFI, but your staff disagrees on the SAS, well, there's your place to dig in. The SAS is meant for all staff, not just teachers, so those voices are captured. Sometimes I tell teams to preview it together first. It avoids confusion and helps catch those tricky questions.
And it's straightforward to administer. Open up a window in PBIS assessment, set your dates, and share the link. But don't just shoot out an email and hope for the best. Introduce the SAS during a staff meeting, talk about why it matters, and let everyone see the kinds of questions asked. Ideally, the PBIS team should walk through the survey first so you all know what's coming, then set aside time so people can actually do it, not just put it off for later.
What I love is the data you get. The SAS doesn't just ask, is this in place? It also ranks the priority for improvement, high, medium, low. So now you've got a heat map showing not only what's present, but what staff feel needs attention. And since Tier 1 questions line up with TFI questions, you can compare scores and actually see where to celebrate or where perceptions don't match reality, or maybe where communication or implementation is breaking down. I remember one school, Erin, where their TFI said their hallway systems were good to go, but the SAS showed staff didn't agree. When they dug into the walkthrough data, it turned out the problem was really just about consistency in 2 spots, not everywhere. They fixed those spots and suddenly the hallway chaos dropped. It wasn't about overhauling the whole system, just targeted tweaks.
And I love that story, Debi. Honestly, when you compare TFI and SAS data side by side in a spreadsheet or one of those templates, you get clarity on where to focus. No more feeling overwhelmed with 10 giant action items. It's usually 2 or 3 that really move the needle. And that's what these Fidelity tools are for helping your team plan next steps using real voice, real data, and a real plan. That's how you set the whole year up for success, not just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. And that's where having these conversations, looking at the data, and making actionable plans as a PBIS team pays off. We're all about being clear, so all adults are on the same page when it comes to implementation and informed decision making. Lead with clarity, powered by Fidelity. That's how you do it. Erin, I could talk about this for hours, but something tells me we've reached our stop for today.
I know, Debbie, we really could. Well, thanks to everyone for listening in. Remember, you can always reach out to us if you have questions, want support, or you're just stuck on which tool to use when. We'll have more episodes coming and probably a few more funny and real life stories about what can go sideways and how to turn it around. Debbie, always love doing this with you.
Same to you, Erin. Take care, everyone. Here's to a year of strong data-informed PBIS. See you all soon.